The reason you're constantly distracted isn't a failure of willpower, it's a failure to understand the true source of your urges. We'll show you the counterintuitive psychological framework that lets you control your triggers and instantly become indistractable. Okay, let's really dive into that, because that one idea, it changes absolutely everything. For years, we've all been told the same story, that the secret to focus is just more grit, more discipline, right? Just try harder. But what if that's like trying to fix a software bug by yelling at your computer? It's just completely missing the point. The solution we're going to walk through isn't about fighting the pings and notifications harder. It's a psychological framework, a system for rewiring your response to the internal triggers that make all those external things so hard to resist. And here it is, the core paradox of this entire system. Distraction doesn't start with your phone, it starts inside your own head. It's basically a habit you've learned to escape an uncomfortable feeling. Let's make this real for a second. You're staring at a tough project, maybe a blank page, and you feel that wave of, what is it, a little anxiety? Maybe just boredom. And boom, without even thinking, your hand reaches for your phone to start scrolling. That feeling, that internal discomfort, that was the real trigger. The phone was just the escape hatch. So to give you the complete blueprint to master this, we've broken this down into a full masterclass. We'll kick things off by diagnosing the real scientific source of your distraction and show you its shockingly high cost. Then we're going to unpack the entire 4-part Indistractable framework and the incredible psychology that makes it all work. And we'll finish strong with a precise 3-step action plan you can use today, all leading to the ultimate goal, achieving what we call traction. Okay, let's get into it. Part 1, the real source of distraction. It's time we moved past the surface level tips and really got into the science of why your attention feels like it's being pulled in a million directions. This is where we look under the hood. So the most important thing to get is this. Your distraction problem isn't a character flaw, it's a biological pattern. It's called emotional avoidance. See, your brain is just hardwired to seek relief from discomfort. Your limbic system, that ancient emotional part of your brain, is built for one thing, survival. And when it senses discomfort, whether that's the big anxiety of a tough project or just the tiny boredom of waiting in line, its number one job is to find relief, and to find it now. That compulsive email check, that quick scroll through your feed, that's just your brain's impulsive attempts to get a quick hit of relief. But here's the thing. This cycle of avoidance has a massive hidden cost. Scientists call it attention residue. Every single time you switch from what you're doing to a distraction and then back again, you don't bring your full brain power with you. It's like a piece of your focus gets left behind, still thinking about that email or that text. I know you felt this. You try to get back to work, but your brain just feels fuzzy, fragmented. That's attention residue, and it is the invisible enemy of deep work. Now, what's really terrifying is just how bad this is. Look at this number. Research from the University of California, Irvine actually put a number on this attention residue crisis. And the result is it's staggering. It takes an average of 23 minutes to fully get back into a state of deep focus after just one interruption. Let that sink in. A 10-second glance at a notification can literally vaporize nearly half an hour of your most valuable, high-quality thinking. This isn't just a small annoyance, it's a complete demolition of your ability to think clearly. All right, so that's the problem. But this is where we turn things around. Because the solution isn't about trying harder, it's about having a smarter system. Welcome to Part 2, the Indistractable framework. And I want you to think of this not as a bunch of tips or hacks, but as a complete, engineered system for rebuilding your focus from the ground up. So how does this actually work? Well, the framework is built on 4 pillars, and they work in sequence. First, and this is the most important one, you have to master your internal triggers. That's the root cause we just talked about. Second, you strategically manage the external triggers all around you. Third, you harness time blocking to plan your day in advance. And finally, you form pacts, which creates this powerful layer of accountability. It's a full defense system from the inside out. But before we even break those down, we have to redefine the battle we're fighting. This isn't about focus versus distraction. The true opposite of distraction is traction. Traction is any action that pulls you toward what you actually want in life, actions that line up with your values. Distraction is anything that pulls you away from them. This is so key because it means any action can be either one. Scrolling Instagram when you plan to work, that's distraction. But scrolling Instagram during a scheduled break, totally guilt-free, that can be traction. The intent is everything. And this is how those 4 pillars all work together. Mastering internal triggers is all about learning to spot that uncomfortable feeling and then choosing how to respond, instead of just mindlessly reacting. Mastering external triggers is about redesigning your environment, adding what we call friction to make those mindless reactions just a little bit harder. Time blocking, well, that's your offensive strategy. You decide ahead of time what traction looks like for you. And PAX, that's your insurance policy, making it harder to give up on yourself when things get tough. Okay, now for my favorite part, part 3. We've covered the what of the framework. Let's get into the why. This is the psychology of control. Why does this system have the power to literally rewire your brain's response to distraction? Let's look at the science. So right now, there's a little battle going on inside your head. You've got your impulsive limbic system, which is kind of like a toddler screaming for immediate relief from discomfort. And then you have your prefrontal cortex, or PFC, which is the adult in the room responsible for planning and long-term goals. The Indistractable framework is basically a workout program for your PFC. By learning to just notice an internal trigger and pause for a second, you create this critical gap. And that tiny pause is just enough time for your PFC to step in, override that impulse, and choose a planned response. Every time you do that, you are literally strengthening your self-control muscle. The framework also uses this really powerful psychological tool called implementation intentions. Now, it sounds super complex, but it's not. It's just a fancy term for pre-deciding how you're going to handle a situation before it happens. By creating a simple if-then plan, you take the decision-making load off your future self. I mean, think of your willpower like a phone battery. Every decision you make all day drains it. Well, implementation intentions are like pre-programming your brain to handle routine stuff automatically, saving that precious battery for what really matters. And here is a perfect, practical example of what that looks like. If I feel that restless urge to check my phone while I'm working, then I will take one deep breath and look at my schedule. You see what that does? It completely bypasses the whole internal debate. You're not using brute force to fight the urge, you're just redirecting it with a decision you already made. It automates the good behavior and keeps your brain focused, instead of wasting energy on a pointless little fight with yourself. Okay, so that's the theory. Let's get our hands dirty and move to part 4. This is your 3-step action plan. This is an abstract. This is the exact protocol you can use to start becoming indistractable, like right now. As you can see, there are really only 3 non-negotiable steps to get started. First, a simple 5-minute audit of your internal triggers, just to gather some data. Second, you're going to use that data to design a friction barrier for your environment. And third, the absolute game changer, the practice of time blocking your attention. Let's break each one down. Step 1 is the internal trigger audit. For the next day, whenever you catch yourself doing something you didn't mean to do, mindlessly scrolling, checking email for the 10th time, I just want you to pause. Don't judge yourself, just get curious. Grab a notepad and ask yourself this one question. What emotion did I feel right before this happened? Write it down. Was it fatigue? A little anxiety about that big project? Loneliness? This isn't about shame, it's about data collection. You're becoming a scientist of your own mind. Okay, now we use that data. Step 2 is designing friction. Look at your notes. If you see a pattern that, say, anxiety about a project always leads to checking the news, then maybe you install a blocker on news sites during your work hours. If afternoon boredom leads to social media, log out of all your accounts on your computer. The goal here is simple. Make distraction require more effort, and make traction, the work you actually want to do, the path of least resistance. You're engineering your environment to help you win. And this brings us to step 3, the technique that ties it all together, time blocking. You schedule non-negotiable blocks in your calendar for your deep work. But here's the secret sauce. You also schedule time for distraction. This is so important. Now, when an urge pops up during a deep work block, you don't fight it. You use this little script. You just acknowledge it. There's that urge to check my phone. I see it. And you know what? I can deal with that during my scheduled break at 11 a.m. This acknowledges the feeling without obeying the impulse, and that is what finally breaks the cycle. And that leads us perfectly into our final and maybe most important section. Part 5, traction is the goal. After you understand the science and you have the system, what's the one big mindset shift you need to make all of this stick for good? Well, here it is. The ultimate takeaway from our entire explainer is right here. The opposite of distraction is not focus. It is traction. The goal isn't to become some joyless productivity robot who never has fun. The goal is to live with intent. It's about making sure that we are the ones who decide how we spend our time and attention, consistently pulling ourselves toward the life we want. It's about being able to fully work when we choose to work, and fully, without any guilt, enjoy our time off when we choose to relax. So, here is your mission. Don't try to change everything all at once. Just commit to one thing. Tomorrow, start the 5-minute internal trigger audit. Just observe and record with zero judgment. This one small act of awareness is the most powerful first step you can possibly take toward reclaiming total control over your attention and really over your life. So let's wrap up this masterclass with a quick recap. Remember, the traction versus distraction framework solves that core problem of impulsive behavior and emotional avoidance. And why this matters so much is that it gives you a systematic way to finally control your urges and protect your focus. The internal trigger audit and time blocking are the tools that directly strengthen your self-regulation, making the actions you value the easiest, most default option. And that leads to the ultimate truth here. Productivity isn't about doing more, it's about mastering systems that make focus effortless.